Hi guys, welcome to the channel. In this video, you're going to learn lots of vocabulary to be able to talk about the COVID-19 pandemic in English. This is a topic which keeps coming up during my classes, and I found that my students don't really know the vocabulary to be able to talk about it. So that is why I'm making this video. If you do find this helpful, please hit like and subscribe if you'd like to see more. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Let's get started. Pandemic. This is a noun, as you can see from the little N next to the word pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected all of us. And you can see from the picture what we mean by a pandemic. It is a disease that affects the whole of the world or the entire globe. It is a global outbreak of disease. Virus, also a noun. COVID-19 is a virus. It is one of many coronaviruses. Lockdown, also a noun. You can see by the picture what I mean by lockdown. A lockdown is when people are not permitted to leave their homes, except for essential things like buying food and drink. The lockdown lasted a few months. I was in Spain during lockdown and it lasted maybe 2 months, I think. Of course, it was different in different countries. Some cities were in lockdown for longer than others. And you can see here, we say in lockdown, to be in lockdown. Curfew, also a noun. Some areas imposed a 10 p.m. curfew to try to reduce infection rates. All businesses had to close before that time. So you can see by the example what I mean by a curfew. It is a time, and at that time, all businesses, all activity has to stop, and people have to be in their homes. Social distancing, also a noun, and you can see from the picture what we mean by social distancing. In many places, social distancing was mandatory. Mandatory. This means obligatory. If something is mandatory, you have to do it. It is not optional. So again, this is based on the UK situation or the situation in Spain, as those are the two countries that I have knowledge of. Of course, things were different in different places. Panic buy. In the UK, we had a problem with people panic buying. This is true, specifically toilet rolls, funnily enough. I don't know what it is about us British that makes us desperate to have enough toilet roll in the house, but that was the number one item that people were panic buying. PPE, noun. Personal protective equipment. So instead of having to say personal protective equipment, it's just much easier to say PPE. In the early days of the pandemic, there was a shortage of PPE in hospitals. A shortage of something is not enough of something. Mask, noun. So this is an item of PPE. In England, we have to wear a mask when we go to the doctors. This is still true. I think most or all COVID restrictions have now ended in the UK, except that in a medical setting, you have to wear a mask. And notice that we use the verb wear, to wear a mask. There are also some phrasal verbs associated with wearing a mask. Put on your mask, or put your mask on. This means to start wearing your mask. Take off your mask, or take your mask off, means to stop wearing your mask. So you put your mask on, and then you are wearing your mask, and then later you take your mask off. Gloves. We wear gloves to protect our hands. Goggles, not to be confused with Google, the search engine. Goggles. Goggles are an item of PPE. And again, with gloves and with goggles, we can use those same phrasal verbs. Put on your gloves, put on your goggles. Take off your gloves, take off your goggles. Hand sanitizer, a noun. Hand sanitizer is available in many shops now. Symptomatic, this is an adjective. She is symptomatic. She has a cough and a temperature, but her symptoms are not serious. Now, I just want to draw your attention to a couple of these words. Cough. Okay, so the pronunciation is cough. This is a verb and a noun. To cough and to have a cough. Then temperature. So if you look at the word, it looks like it's temperature, but it's not. It actually only has 3 syllables. Temperature. Temperature. Temperature is a British word, so we say temperature in the UK, and they would say fever in the US. And in fact, a lot of English people nowadays also say fever. Thermometer, a noun. If you feel unwell, take your temperature with a thermometer. Quite a mouthful there. Temperature, thermometer, okay? Temperature, thermometer. Asymptomatic, another adjective. So this is the opposite of symptomatic. They have tested positive for COVID, but they are asymptomatic. They have no symptoms. So you can see they all look very happy there because they don't have symptoms. Test negative. I had a cough, but I tested negative for COVID-19. So you can see that to test negative is a verb, and it means to get a negative result on a COVID test. Test positive. I was asymptomatic, but I tested positive for COVID-19. So to test positive means to get a positive result on a test. Self-isolate, a verb. If you tested positive for COVID-19 in 2021, you had to self-isolate. Now, this was the situation in England. I don't know about in other places, but now you don't have to do that anymore. In fact, this is the most recent update on the NHS or National Health Service website, which says, as you can see, you should try to stay at home and avoid contact with other people. So this language, try to stay at home, this is a recommendation, but it's not mandatory or obligatory. So you should stay at home, but you don't have to. This was true at the time of recording this video, 13th of June 2022. Who knows what the situation will be when you're watching this. Quarantine. This is a verb and a noun. People arriving in the UK from red list countries had to quarantine for 10 days. So again, I'm talking about the past here. This restriction ended on March 18th, 2022, according to what I could find online. The UK abolished or finished all its restrictions then, so we don't have red list countries anymore, and there is no necessity to quarantine. She can't go out because she's in quarantine. Notice here that we can say in quarantine, a bit like in lockdown. To be in lockdown, to be in quarantine. Vaccine. Several countries have developed COVID vaccines. So vaccines, for example, AstraZeneca, Moderna, Pfizer. Vaccination, also known as jab. To book a COVID-19 vaccination or jab, call your local pharmacy. Notice the verb that we use here to book a vaccination. To book is to make a reservation or an appointment. So you book a vaccination, you can also book a table in a restaurant. Vaccinated or jabbed, these are adjectives. For some jobs, getting vaccinated is mandatory. Remember mandatory? Mandatory is obligatory. If something is mandatory, you have to do it. I think in the UK, it is mandatory to get vaccinated if you work in health and social care, I think. I could be wrong. And notice that we say get vaccinated. To get vaccinated is to have your vaccination. Some countries require tourists to be double jabbed. I've included this one here, double jabbed, because this is a term that gets used a lot in the UK, in newspapers, on the TV. If you are double jabbed, it means that you have had 2 COVID vaccines. For more vocabulary videos, including phrasal verbs and confusing word pairs, take a look at my channel. I've also got grammar and exam preparation videos. And if you do like the content, please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more. See you in the next video.